Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to Miami and to Soccerex, and it's a pleasure to have your attention for what will be a quick 20 or 30 minutes to talk about a topic that we could probably spend hours and hours, if not days on, which is how some of the biggest soccer events in the world can impact legacy, particularly here in North America. As if anyone here is living under a rock, not aware, some of these major events such as the World Cup, Copa America, Club World Cup, you name it, they all seem to be coming to our shores over the next several years. So it's a tremendously exciting time. And I'm particularly pleased to have been invited to be a moderator today. My name is John Christic. I am president of a group called Playfly Sports. I've had the pleasure of being involved in the sport of soccer internationally for my career, which is, dare I say it now, I think about 30 years. And I also had the pleasure of being involved with both of the more recent World Cup bids, the one of which the U.S. did not win for 2022, and lots of books were written about that. And more successfully, I was executive director of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico bid, which obviously ended with a successful result in June of 2018 and is now about 1,000 days away from taking part in the U.S. And joining me on the stage here today are three exceptional individuals who have a really complementary set of backgrounds to help us. Ricardo Trade, or Baca, who is directly to my left, and many of you probably know of him, but his track record around international events could take the entire 20 minutes for me to explain, but comes out of Brazil. He was the CEO of the successful World Cup in 2014. He had an involvement with the Olympic Games in 2016. He was an executive role with the Qatar World Cup and is now the CEO of the Copa America, which in about 200 days will be kicking off here in the United States. To his left, Ed Foster Simeon, a good friend and someone that I've learned to respect and work with closely over many years. He is the CEO of the United States Soccer Foundation and probably personifies legacy better than anybody I know as it relates to the World Cup that successfully took place here in 1994. And Ed will be able to share some of the details of the way they've carried the torch for the last 10,000 days since the World Cup in '94 ended, and how we hope to carry that forward in the future. And Brent Latham on the end here, but not to be diminished in terms of the role he plays. He's been an executive in the sport of soccer, working with CONCACAF for many years, and is today the mayor of North Bay Village, which is nearby here, about 8,000 people if I know correctly. But he's done some tremendous, I'd say he's benefited from so many of the footings that the World Cup in 1994 put in place. And he's got a project in his community that he's going to be able to talk about, which to me is a great example of legacy, but also talk about the impact that these major events will have. Before I go in and ask some questions, I mean, just a little bit of perspective. I mentioned, you know, it's been 10,000 days since the World Cup ended in 1994, which is pretty phenomenal, and it's about 1,000 days until the World Cup in 2026 is going to begin. And to me, one of the legacies of that World Cup is what we see here today. This many people coming together around this sport that means so much to all of us. I look at how many people, and I imagine even from a show of hands here, how many people got started when the World Cup was here in 1994. You know, whether you worked for the organizing committee, whether you worked in one of the cities, whether you were a volunteer, whether you were just a ticket holder, you know, or a fan. I personally got involved in this business in 1994, and to me, to see that an event like this and the sport has grown, you know, to me points to so much of the successful legacy. One of the people that were going to join us today that unfortunately could not make it was Alan Rothenberg. And for those of you who know, Alan was the president of U.S. Soccer and also was the chairman of the World Cup in 1994. He sends his best. He's still very active in business. He's my boss, so I can tell you he is still very much enthused about everything, and he'd be proud to see what we're all experiencing here today. You know, one thing about World Cup '94, you know, and I still think about it a lot because it's when I got started in the business, but it was so different. You know, my first job for World Cup '94, I worked for the Swiss company that was FIFA's commercial partner at the time, was to introduce the World Cup to America. I literally was given a budget and was told to hire agencies because they were uncertain whether the U.S. was aware of what the World Cup was. And I remember meeting with the biggest ad agencies on Madison Avenue at the time, and literally they treated it as a new product launch. And if I were to show you the creative, unfortunately, if you want to see it, I have it on my phone still, you would laugh in terms of the way we had to educate the American population around the sport. But obviously, you know, much has changed, and a lot of that I give credit to people like Alan, who made some big, brave decisions with FIFA in terms of not treating it as a regional World Cup, not looking at it in smaller stadiums, but going all in. And the record still holds today that World Cup '94 sold more tickets than any World Cup in history, and I assume that record will be broken in 1,000 days, but it is nice to look back and think about that. Legacy in World Cup '94 was quite clear, and it was defined before the World Cup even started, because FIFA made clear that in order to bring the World Cup to the United States, they wanted to ensure that there was going to be a professional league that would grow out of it. So that was something that was very much clearly, you know, established as a priority early on, and even while hosting the event, they had to manage very clearly building an investor base and a business plan for that. And just looking, you know, fast forwarding to where we are today, you know, you had Don Garber and Eddie speaking about the significant inroads and the way Apple is looking at MLS today. You know, we've got a successful MLS. It still has ways to go yet, but we've now got the greatest player in the world playing in this city. You've got NWSL, you've got USL. We have so many great things to give everybody credit for. And that's something I think that makes us all, you know, very happy to see that these legacies do have a way of planting themselves in the ecosystem of our sport and bringing around results that we can all benefit from. One of the legacies that I'd like to speak to first is, you know, after World Cup in 1994, the good news is they made money. The good news is everybody loved it. We started MLS, but there was also proceeds that came out of that. And Alan and the rest of the board at U.S. Soccer decided they wanted to put that to good use. And the U.S. Soccer Foundation came out of that. And whereas World Cup headlines may have dropped and there may have been a lot of, you know, ebbs and flows of the sport and different events, the foundation was going every day. And Ed, I'd love for you to speak a little bit about how you took that baton from the success of World Cup '94 and how the foundation has carried that forward.
Thanks so much, John. I'm really glad to be here. The U.S. Soccer Foundation, as a legacy of the '94 World Cup, had the singular purpose of helping to grow the game in the United States. That, as was mentioned, helping Major League Soccer get up and running was the number one priority. It was a commitment that was made to FIFA. But then the growth of the game writ large has been our singular focus over the last 3 decades. We started out, we helped every iteration of the Women's Professional League get started here in this country. We've invested and supported programming and field building initiatives in all 50 states, making sure that the game was spread. And anyone who's been paying attention knows the game has grown phenomenally in this country. The legacy work today is about really how do we expand access and opportunity to this wonderful game, because in the way the game has evolved in this country, it really is a middle class and upper middle class sport because of the way the economic model works. And so our focus now is there are millions of children in under-resourced communities who don't have access to be able to participate in this game. And that's the next chapter of growth in this country, bringing those young people into the game of soccer, not only because it's a great game to play and they'll enjoy it and they'll develop good health outcomes and all that, but they will become the fans of the future. They will become the players of the future. They are the people who are the future of the game in this country. And with the United States being one of the last frontiers for growth of the game of soccer in the world, being able to reach all of our population and make sure that they have access and opportunity is the priority.
Could you touch a little bit, Ed, on how you're now looking forward to 26 and what efforts are the foundation doing to ensure that you can not only take advantage of the final build-up, but hopefully multiple years down the road from now, people will look back and say the legacy the 26 left.
Interesting question. The word legacy often suggests something that happens after the event, right? And our focus on legacy has been, since the World Cup was awarded, we've been working on legacy. How do we ensure that the energy around the World Cup coming to the United States leaves a legacy that begins before the World Cup and extends well beyond the final whistle of the final match? That is what a true legacy is. The U.S. Soccer Foundation is indicative of that. We were created after the '94 World Cup. 30 years later, the organization is still investing and making a difference in communities. So our view around legacy is the work is happening now. More of it should be happening now, and it should continue well beyond 2026. Because when you host a mega event like this, it puts a massive demand on public resources. Public dollars are invested. So what is going to be left? What is going to be the benefit to the communities that are hosting these events, like the World Cup, so that they can see that not just those who got to attend the match and go to the game, but everyone in those communities get a benefit, and that's where our game comes in. Bringing access and opportunity to under-resourced communities improves those communities, gives children the opportunity to participate.
I'd like to turn to Ricardo, and it's kind of a two-part question, one of which I'd love to hear a little bit of your perspective going back to 2014, almost 10 years ago now, because you were in the role of running the organizing committee for the Brazil World Cup, and how legacy, fast forward to where we are today, has impacted Brazil. And then also in your role now as CEO of Copa America, which is going to be a tremendous event, 200 days away, 16 teams, 31 matches, taking place in the U.S. Just how you kind of look at the legacy impact.
I could say that in Brazil it was impressive. I have here with me Sancler Milesi, our Director of Communications. He knows well this. And we received a lot of criticism in the beginning regarding a World Cup in Brazil. But at the end, we have now the joint stock companies arriving in Brazil. The official professional leagues arriving in Brazil. We have now 16 amazing stadiums ready to deliver any kind of competitions there. We have all the conditions. These stadiums are also, all of them now has the FIFA standard that we could call, and these stadiums has good lighting, good pitches, and this is essential. We have the hotels. We have now the airports ready. To be honest with you, some airports in Brazil seems like a bus station before the World Cup. And then it's a legacy. It's a legacy not for the World Cup, not only for football, but for our country, because we, as Brazilians, are traveling a lot as tourism, internal tourism there. This is essential for us. This is only some small issues, and also we are working together here with this guy. Foster, look at me since May, as soon as I arrived here to discuss legacy point of view. This is essential. I had a lunch with him discussing some parts of this also. We are here to make a nice, amazing Copa America, as we said. We have CONCACAF here. CONCACAF is so useful to do this. They are really good. It's just to say about the Gold Cup, that's a successful one. I was here watching this. And it's easier for us because USA is ready. I'm talking about the stadiums, the conditions, the concessions at the stadiums, the skyboxes, Everything is ready here. The operation of the stadiums will be so easy for us, and for sure, this combination with CONCACAF will make the things easier for us. But again, another legacy. I used to be the deputy CEO in Qatar, and in my team there, 1,340 people working for us in the organizing committee. 331 are Brazilians. It's a knowledge transfer so important. Brazilians now, they are in Pan American Games in Chile, they are in Pan American Games in Chile, they are in World Cup here, they are in Asian Cup in Qatar. They are working for a lot at Paris, Olympic Games in Paris. They have a lot of people there. This is essential for us to have knowledge. This is important. It's an industry. The events industry here will grow again. For us, we discussed with FIFA also an integration. This is a legacy that I could see for the World Cup in 2026 because we will work together. We use a lot of stadiums that FIFA will use in the future. We're not jealous of this. We are together on this. It's football. It's to grow the football. In Brazil, we could say that now we really have the operational side of the stadiums that we are treating well the spectators, to identify the fans, to do this. This is a kind of legacy that we are doing from the legacy of the World Cup. And I think you have this here. As you said, you have here the Clubs World Championship. We have the FIFA World Championship. We have the Copa America. We have the Olympic Games in 2028. And maybe also Mexico and USA are bidding for the Women's World Cup in 2027. Brazil is also bidding for this because we are there. We are ready for this. We have the stadiums. As I said, we have this. This is a legacy point of view. This impressive industry of events and creating employments and so on. And also, in a social part, I will not say especially on this, but we have a lot of improvements in Brazil also derivated from this. This is my opinion. This is my reality because I lived there. I lived in Qatar now for 2 years. It was impressive how FIFA improved the quality of the workers in Qatar. I don't know if you know, but from 10 to 4 during the summer, it's impossible to work. The people from Qatar forbidden the workers to be worked. They work from 6 to 10, and they work for 4 because of FIFA asking them to do this. The delivery of food during the day by motorcycle, it's forbidden in this time because of the heat, because of the World Cup. This is the improvements that the football could cause in some countries. This is my idea here.
Yep. Brent, I think you bring such an interesting perspective to this, one of which being the mayor here in North Bay Village. How do you look at the opportunity in Miami right now with what is coming as it relates to football? Because you obviously appreciate the impact. And then I'd love to hear from that perspective how your constituents look at it, but then touch upon a little bit the special project you're doing with the Argentinian FA. Because again, to me, I would question whether that would have been possible if it wouldn't have been for the seeds that were planted back in 1994. But I'd love to hear your perspective on some of these things.
Yeah, I think when we talk about legacy and the work that Ricardo and Ed are doing, I mean that's what builds legacy of what's going on at previous tournaments and of where the sport of soccer is today in the United States. And it's remarkable, I'm maybe a little bit younger than you guys. I know we talked about where I was in '94 and it wasn't quite ready to be working in the tournament yet, but it did have a material impact on me in '94, just having the tournament here in the United States. I think that was a watershed moment, certainly for soccer in the United States, where there was more of a general consciousness of soccer being a part of the sporting environment in the United States. Eventually MLS came from that. The projects of the foundation came from that. And all these years onward, we're now at a place where soccer really is a preeminent sport in the minds of many of the people that we work around. And you ask about Miami, Miami tends to be a harbinger of what's to come in the United States. It has been for many decades. And I can say comfortably that soccer is the preeminent sport in Miami. You know, how do I know that? I know that from working with my constituents, working with the people around North Bay Village, Miami Beach, Miami, and soccer is the most important sport already for the youth today. So when we bring that back to legacy, you know, Ed talked about resources and opportunity, and those are really, and Ricardo touched on resources and opportunity, and those are the key areas where we need to leverage what's coming from our upcoming tournaments, from Copa America, from the World Cup, to bring those resources to create opportunity in the sport. And so from a constituency point of view, what is it in Miami, but I think this is broader, certainly broader in the United States, in Mexico, in Canada, you know, let's not forget about other countries that are part of this. It's opening up the opportunity for people, and more specifically youth, to be involved in soccer in a meaningful way. In the United States, that means free soccer. You know, it means programming, it means facilities first, and then it means programming to allow the youth and to allow the community in general to get involved in soccer in a way that's not going to break the bank. Because we do have a situation in the United States still where kids are having to pay too much to be involved in meaningful soccer. And it's improving over time. It's improved a lot over just over the last few years, thanks to the programming efforts of the U.S. Soccer Federation, of others in that space. But we've got a long way to go. You know, the day where the United States and Canada, Mexico less so, it's an individual situation, but these are areas where free soccer is available in a recreational space to all the kids that want to play it. And I mean, kids want to play soccer today more than they want to play American football, more than they want to play baseball. That's the day when we'll turn the corner on soccer being the preeminent sport. And I think the Copa America and the World Cup are going to be the point of inflection for that. So you say, what are we doing with the Argentine Football Association? Well, that's a special thing because we have the Argentine Football Association, who we've managed to team with, and they see it. They see soccer in the United States growing and becoming the preeminent sport because they know what it's all about. And, you know, just a quick aside, you know, what's one of the things that we spoke to the Argentine Football Association about, creating a space for them to utilize as an academy in the United States, a footprint in the United States. One of the things a lot of people realize that they're looking for is that they're looking for Argentine talent in the United States. Younger kids, under 15s, under 17s, of Argentine descent that might want to be a part of the Argentine national team program, and that's amazing. I see you smiling, John. You realize how amazing that is. Ed, you've been around, where the United States is actually starting to produce talent at the youth levels that the preeminent federations in the world are looking for. To me, you know, that's something that indicates where the sport is with the youth today in the United States. And so, you know, we're moving towards where soccer will be the #1 sport in the United States, no doubt about it, thanks to all the hard work that's been done, MLS, the Soccer Federation, the Soccer Foundation. But to get there faster, we need to create the spaces for kids to be able to access and play, and we need to be able to program those spaces so that kids are having something useful that they can come and do. You know, and I think that's where the situation with a local government like North Bay Village and an international federation like the Argentine Football Federation dovetails. It's the efficiency we're looking to create, and it also brings to the table the resources that we need to be able to make something like this happen. So that's where it all comes together for us in North Bay Village.
Believe it or not, I'm staring at a clock that is down under 2 minutes right now. And as I said, we could have spent an inordinate amount of time on this. I am going to end with one question that I really would, and Brent's already touched on a little bit there, kind of crystal ball, you know, where 10 years from now we might look back at and say these tremendous events that we have coming up on the horizon, what impact they will have. I mean, what I'd like to give a crack at a little bit, because being involved with the bid the way I was and having to approach cities across the 3 countries and get them excited about this and get them organized, what I will tell you is never in our generation again will we see this much attention being paid to this sport across so many different organizations within cities, from the governments to the pro sports owners at the amateur level to the hoteliers. Everybody is thinking about this sport. And yeah, the World Cup's bringing them to the table, but they're looking at this long term. So never before has the table been set the way it is set today to take advantage of the World Cup. Also, when I look at the stadiums and the discussions, yeah, we've got some of the best stadiums in the world, in the United States, but we also know they were built for the other football. And I was also one of the ones very early on when I read FIFA's requirements, and Baca and I spoke about this a little bit earlier today, about getting the NFL Stadium Ownership Group to understand the importance of having the right field requirements, to having the right field materials that you're playing on, all of these things, and building it into their system. That was not an easy thing. In '94, we were given a pass. If someone went out and measured the field in the Meadowlands, okay, that was played for the World Cup, you don't want to know the size of it. They gave us a pass. There was no pass this time, and you'll read about stuff in the press. These are all going to be sorted out. The NFL ownership have bought into the fact. So that is a tremendous legacy. And I love the fact that you're even here in the NFL now talking about natural grass. Okay, something that they always talked about a little bit, but now you're starting to see them speak about it openly because of what FIFA is bringing in around the FIFA World Cup. So to me, those are really, really positive things. Organization within the cities, never like it was before. They want to use this game in a positive way, and our stadium infrastructure gets bigger. But even though we're out of time, and I took more time than I should have there, I'd love to give you each 30, 45 seconds. What else could a success look like 10 years from now? Where can we go?
Success for me, soccer will be the preeminent sport in the United States without a question. And that begins, from my perspective, by increasing access and making sure that every child who wants to play has the opportunity and the ability to play right in the community where they live, right in their neighborhood. The game, we have to bring the game to where children are and give them access at no cost or very low cost to be able to participate. That will propel the growth of this game in this country to phenomenal heights. And I think that the United States, 10 years, 20 years after the World Cup in 2026 will be a world power in terms of soccer.
Good, Baca.
For me, I agree totally with him. For USA, it's like this. But we need to understand that in each country, the needs are different. In Brazil, it's a lack of infrastructure at this occasion. Then we invest on this. You need to invest on this. Qatar needs to invest to make infrastructure, to open the country for the world and so on. Also, Russia is like this, to modify the feeling in 2018 that they say that the Russians are so serious and not smile and so on. They use the World Cup as a platform to modify this thing that they think it seems like the Russians are like this. I think it's to understand what each country needs and then invest on this. This is my idea for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I concur and would build on that. I mean, I think success is coming. It's gonna come. Nobody's stopping this train. The question is, what does that success look like for everyone? Everyone in the room has seen already the fruits of that success, and the 2026 World Cup is going to be a bonanza of resources like no other. But the question will be, how do we democratize that success? Yep. Touching on what Ed says, how do we democratize it in a way that brings soccer to everyone, all the kids, all the population, with an equal distribution, rather than a streamlined success for those that are already part of it. And I think ultimately, success also looks like calling the sport football without having to explain what we mean.
Can I just add one final thought? Hosting and executing a World Cup is a massive, massive undertaking. And most attention will be on making sure that the games themselves are a success. But a focus has to be placed on legacy. It won't happen by itself. It has to have a focus of leadership at every level, thinking about how do we drive the legacy for this game in this country going forward. And that will be the true test of this, whether we put the energy and the effort into legacy to ensure that beyond the games, there's a lasting impact across this country.
Well, with that, and I think that was very eloquently said, I want to thank my co-panelists here. I want to thank all of you. the opportunity is there for all of us. There are so many different access points into the sport that didn't exist before. Each of you, I'm sure, have ambitions around your own legacy to take advantage of for World Cup 26. And I'm so pleased to see we have so much alignment with people who want to make a positive contribution to the sport. So with that, I thank you all for your time. Hopefully we have a chance to socialize more over the course of the next day. And thank you again to my panelists.
Thank you.